Alright, in this video we are going to learn what are imaginary numbers. When we discuss imaginary numbers, this question arises: when something is imaginary, like when something is not even real, why do we have to learn it? We should learn something that's actually real, that actually makes sense, and that something that exists. Here's the answer to it. The imaginary numbers, you can say they had a bad luck. Their bad luck was they were named as imaginary numbers. Because these are not actually imaginary numbers, they do exist. They do have a lot of uses. Like we use the imaginary numbers like in calculating the stress on the beams in physics and the resonance phenomena or the flow of fluid around an object. All these concepts, all these topics require imaginary numbers to be studied. So what are imaginary numbers? Okay, when we discuss imaginary numbers, let's do some exercise. Tell me a number which when squared, like suppose there's some number over here, when we square it, it gives us a negative number. You can try any number, like 3 multiplied by 3 gives a 9. That are both positives. If you multiply minus 3 times minus 3, we get a 9 again, positive 9. Or we multiply under root 3 with minus under root 3, we still get a 3. All these cases we get positive numbers. Okay, then what's the case which gives us a negative number? Let's leave it over here and move on to the quadratic equation. You remember when solving the quadratic equation, when finding the number of roots of quadratic equation, we used to solve this formula called discriminant. We used to solve the discriminant, that was b squared minus 4ac. It was a part of that formula, the quadratic formula, minus b plus minus under root minus b squared of 4ac divided by 2a. This b squared minus 4ac, remember when this was less than 0 or when this was negative, we used to have no real solution. Okay, let's solve this quadratic equation. Let's solve this equation: x squared plus 1 equal to 0. That's a quadratic equation and it's discriminant. When we talk about a discriminant, let's solve it. Our b squared, there's no b, so it's 0. Minus 4 times a is 1 and our c is also 1. It gives us minus 4. Our discriminant is a negative number, so the solution does not exist. But here comes the imaginary numbers. When we try to solve it, we get x squared is equal to negative 1. When we take under root of this, under root of negative number, here this under root of negative number, this is called, okay, when we put under root we remove the squared sign. This under root minus 1 is called an I because of its imaginary number, and we can also call it iota, or whatever you call it, it's up to you. Okay, here comes the imaginary number. Here arises the imaginary number. Okay, when we square this term, like I discussed that question, what's a number? When we square it, gives us a negative number. Here's this number, this under root minus 1. When we square it, we get a negative 1. Okay, this solves a lot of problems. Suppose we have this question. I'll just erase it over here. Erase this, and suppose we had this question: x squared plus 9 equal to 0. We will get x squared equal to minus 9. Okay, when we solve it, when we take the under root, x equal to under root minus 9. Okay, when applying the law of surds, whenever we can write it as under root 9 multiplied by minus 1. Both are the same thing. And according to the law of surds, we can also write it as x equals to under root 9 multiplied by under root minus 1. Okay, and then we can simply solve it at, we can put this as an I. Under root 9 is 3 plus minus. Whenever we have squared and constant on the other side, we just use plus minus sign. Over here as well, you get a plus and minus iota. Over here as well, we'll use a plus and minus sign with it, and we will get x equals to plus and minus 3 iota. Under root 9 is 3, so we get 3 iota. That's what an imaginary number is. When an imaginary number is single, we call it a unit imaginary number, and whenever it is with some constant, with some other number, 3 or 4 or any number, it's not a unit imaginary number, it's an imaginary number. This does have a lot of uses, but that will be too advanced to study it right now. That's just the basics of imaginary numbers. In the next video, we will cover what complex numbers are. Then imaginary number when it has a real number with that, like 2 plus 3 iota. I'm just giving you a hint of it. These are complex numbers. We'll discuss these numbers in the next video. So do check that video out. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.